everyone, thank you for coming to the show today. I really appreciate the fact that you're joining us. We have Jay Root joining us today and Said as a special guest who works in life insurance type product as well. Both of these have unbelievable superpowers as well as serving others. So I just want to start out, Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about, because I know you had a huge transition during COVID and you had to pivot and you went from serving one community now to serving another. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, well, thank you very much for having me, Francesca. I certainly appreciate being here. I was in the furniture industry as a manufacturer's wholesale rep. So if you guys are in the Chicagoland area, I'd work at Darvin and Room Place. If you guys are in Milwaukee, Tom Ballesteri at Colders. I don't know where else the attendees are from, but I would be contracted out with the manufacturer, and then I would work retail floors or help retailers with that whole process of getting from manufacturer to the retail floor. Then COVID happened, and I was traveling frequently. COVID happened. There's no traveling. In addition to that, I was at home with my then 1.5-year-old, and I saw him going from crawling on his belly to then walking and pushing his own stroller. And I figured, there has to be a better way that I can spend more time at home and still be able to be engaged with the furniture industry in one capacity, but solve a need and not have to travel 4 weeks a month. And so in doing some research and talking with reps and whatnot, and also my mom was a hospital administrator for 20 or 30 years, they led me down the path of, well, why don't you look at health insurance? See if you can find a solution to a common problem, which is small business owners and independent contractors have a very hard time finding quality health insurance. And so that is where, the light bulb went on and the transition happened.
Yeah, and that is major for so many people. I, as an independent contractor, let me tell you, the premiums are huge, absolutely huge with the people that are out there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your product?
Yes. So I work with a team. There's a team of 6 of us that work with client facing, and what we do is we just educate. We work with 41 different brokers, and we do that for the simple reason that we want to pair the person with the right services available. So we're not going to pigeonhole you into one program or another. There's a lot of value in that. So some brokers only work with a handful of carriers. Some don't really work beyond the exchange. Some of our carriers are actually in private health insurance. And so really what we do is we get to know the person. We get to know their family dynamics, their health, and all that good stuff. And then from there, we could either tell you, hey, that what you're on now is the best plan. And there's just a lot of factors into that, right? Pre-existing conditions, subsidies were available, and all that fun stuff. In other circumstances, we can, based on the information provided, we can deconstruct a plan and then build a solid foundation. And then we build walls and then a roof with different riders and different policies to provide you a very solid plan and comprehensive coverage, right? Our goal is always comprehensive coverage as opposed to major medical. And that's just something that we do, and that helps cost coverage. And in addition to that, we have a team of 22 people looking to grow, 22 people that we call patient advocates. So if there is something, if you're going to have to go through major treatment, or or if you had a bad accident. We had this happen last year with someone skiing in Aspen, and they ran into a tree. Aspen is the most expensive hospital in the country. And so when that happened, we had our patient advocate team get on the phone, and instead of racking up a huge bill, that team knows exactly the cost of every service known. So they negotiated it down to the cost. And so that's what we do on behalf of you. Every month we work on your behalf. This isn't just we call you during open enrollment to sign up. We really work every month on your behalf.
So just a couple of things. And again, I know we're recorded, so I don't want to share too much information, but I'm on a medicine that I can't take a generic. So every month I'm arguing with them that I can't have a generic. And then, so what happens is this silly company, if I don't say I need the generic, they send me the regular, but then they give me it at the generic price, but I have to make that phone call in order. It's so silly as to why that happens. And to have those advocates for you, I can't tell you how many times I've had to call back to the hospital and say, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah,
this is insane.
I guess, in part of the education, whether you work with us or not, some of the things that we do, if you have to go to the ER, right? First off, if you have an issue and it's after hours, teledoc, right? Most insurance carriers offer teledoc. I had to use it when I was on the road last week because I had an infection in my head. I had to use teledoc to get a prescription antibiotic. Secondly, if it's after hours or you're traveling, urgent care. Final is emergency room. Legally, emergency rooms are allowed to charge a 1,100% markup. Legally. Wow. So what we do is we educate you and say, if you have to go to the ER, last resort, always pay cash. Just because it's going to be $400 as opposed to $4,000 or whatever it may be. So that's just part of the education that we work with you on. The medical billing system is complicated, and we want to have you guys focus on getting treatment when you need it, especially if you're going through something like a heart attack, stroke, the big C word, or something like that. We want you to focus on recovering, not about
worrying about the bills,
the economics of it.
So when you onboard potential clients or you're talking with potential clients, do you walk through this education process with them to help them?
Yes. So first off, we start with just a simple information gathering form, right? We want to learn more about each person. And by each person, in some cases, it's a single, in some cases, it's a husband and wife, if there's kids. And again, depending on the dynamics, the circumstances, the easiest case, we put a whole family on one plan. But that's the easy case, right? That's simple. More often than not, what we end up finding is someone has a pre-existing condition and they're going through treatment. So we have to put one spouse on one plan and then put the kids and the wife on another one. Or we have to put the two spouses on one plan and the kids on a separate plan or something like that. So we're just trying to balance, like I said, we're trying to figure out the whole picture of the family dynamics because we don't want to
know that was possible, Jay.
Yeah. So we want to make sure that we provide the best solution as it relates to comprehensive coverage and as it relates to your budget. So like, for example, if I guess I can just use my family, for example, right? If I had a pre-existing condition and I had to be on one of the major medical carriers, I could do that. And then I could put my wife and kids on our private health insurance. And then that brings the cost down by 30-40% for them. And that way I still get the coverage that I need for whatever condition I may have. And then they're still getting their comprehensive coverage and we're saving money.
Okay. Now, do you usually put them in the same insurance or do you do something different with them? Or the
depends on each, it really depends on each case. Okay. We've done it a few different ways. Typically, if someone has a pre-existing condition, they're going to stay with whoever their primary is, but the family can go to whomever they want.
Okay.
We prefer PPOs. I mean, that's really what we focus on just because it's a wide, some states are very, very HMO exclusive. And we try and work around those, but PPO is really where we focus on.
Okay. And that's not it. There's nothing wrong with PPO.
No. So yeah, we have nationwide coverage, which is helpful. One thing that I would like to, my dad was the head of I mentioned I was in the furniture industry. My dad was the president of the International Home Furnishings Rep Association. So wholesale reps have an association. There are about 2,000 members. They stretch across 47, 48 states, and they try to get healthcare forever. State laws, different brokers, they just couldn't figure it out. And by us being able to work with so many different different carriers, and we're able to offer nationwide coverage. And so that was a big selling point. So we're serving the small businesses that don't either have it through a spouse or they have it on an individual plan, which is not the greatest for them. It can be, but it can also be very expensive. And then by us being able to work across the state or across the nation, because these reps travel, right? And if you're in North Carolina and you travel to Florida or Vegas and you have to go to work or a hospital, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah. So, and I think health insurance is one of those things that you get it and then you forget about it. And then either something goes wrong with it, you can't get any help, versus if you had somebody helping you. And I think this is a big issue for people, is they don't know there's people they can reach out to get assistance and help.
And that's really what we pride ourselves on, is we provide a service, right? Anybody can sell you health insurance.
Right.
Anybody. Or even nowadays, there's these MediShare programs where you're just paying into a fund, and those aren't actually insurance brokers. So they don't have any ethical codes or anything to follow. Anybody can sell that. We really want a long-term relationship. We want you guys to be healthy. We want to make sure we protect your health and we protect your funds as best we can. And we're not going to leave your side. When you need us most, we're going to be here, right? That's why we have the patient advocates. That's why you have direct phone, my phone number when we work together, or anyone on our team. We also have someone on our team. It's one lady, and she has 4 on her team that specialize in Medicare. That's all she does.
Okay, and that's a big one, the Medicare piece, because
very complicated. Very complicated. I'm not going to speak on it because I will get myself into trouble. That's why we brought her on board. Her story is fascinating. She is one of, I want to say, like 7 or 8 kids, and then she's got like a whole village of people that are in her family. And so she got into Medicare so that she could provide quality insurance for her family. And so that's just her calling, and that's what she does. And so she's a tremendous person and incredibly caring, and she's very good at what she does.
So that Medicare window, they're all small, but it seems like it always seems like it's at the last minute trying to get that and review it. And for me, it's painful because I do it for my mom, but it's very painful to go through that whole process. And it's like, oh, I got to get this done. So, it's great if you had people to look at this and then help you make those decisions, because it's hard to make the decisions.
Yep. And we've run into that type of situation frequently where the daughter or the son has to make all the decisions for the aging parent, and the aging parent it doesn't know what's going on, nor does the child. Doesn't matter how well educated. Obviously, you're educated by being a CFO. It's still very complicated and time consuming. And so let us work with you, educate you. And then from there, you can make a decision on if you want to work with us or you want to work by yourself. That's fine, but at least you have the education. And so we save you some time, hopefully some stress, and put your parents in a program that is appropriate for their needs.
Yeah, just getting rid of that stress piece of it is huge. So how do people get questions to you, or how do we get in touch with you? What do we do?
Yeah. So we have a website called americashealthexpert.com. And on that, you'll see we have a brief video on kind of our philosophy, our moral compass, and our ethics. And then you'll also see the resources we have, our process, any sort of frequent questions and whatnot. Also on the top right, there's a button that says apply now. I put apply in parentheses or quotations, excuse me, because it's not really an application. It's a HIPAA compliant information gathering form. So like I said, the first step is to provide us information so we get to know you. Based on that, then I work with our team and we put together various programs or solutions that would be appropriate for your needs. And then we hop on the phone and we talk about it. And, we'll be very honest. If what you have now is best for what your needs are, at least if we can make suggestions on some additional programs, like I said, we might be able to break up the family into 2 or 3 different policies. We might be able to keep you on your pre-existing coverage for major medical, but reduce it and then add some supplements. So your cost is going down, but your coverage is going up and you're still grandfathered in. So there's just a lot of different things we have to factor. But beforehand, we just need to get that information.
So let me ask you the $1 million question. What have you been able to save some of your clients?
30 to 40%. Okay. Which is real money.
It is real money. And then in terms of that, do some of them get better coverage?
Well, yeah. So I guess one example, we had a family of 4, very healthy, North Carolina. They were paying $1,400 a month. I was able to quote them on the private health insurance at $914 a month. A couple other additional benefits. We went to a nationwide PPO. Previously, they were in a North Carolina exclusive plan. We have a $5 million, this particular plan had a $5 million lifetime benefit. The previous plan only had a $1 million benefit, which is actually very comparable to my parents. My mom, like I said, hospital administrator, she really likes the fact that I can work with them on a $5 million lifetime benefit as opposed to a 1, because 1 doesn't get you very far. No. Plus with the 5, we're able to negotiate costs down. At 1, you don't have those resources. The other thing with that particular private insurance plan, the deductibles do not apply unless there's hospital admission, overnight hospital admission. So, you're used to paying premiums and then having the insurance not kicking in until you meet a $7,500 or $8,000 or $12,000 deductible. Ours is that particular plan was day 1 coverage.
Okay. Yeah, it's confusing.
Yes, it is.
It's
very confusing. So that's why, again, and this just coming full circle, that's the reason why I saw a need. I found a team that I can successfully partner with. We have the infrastructure. Now it's a moral, ethical mission of mine to help small businesses, independent contractors with the information piece of it so that they are aware of what's actually available to them.
So now with the small businesses, when you go in, do you help the team members, the employees with this? Do you provide the same service then?
Yeah, we can do group plans.
Okay.
We can do group plans.
And I think that's always confusing too, right? For the small businesses, because it's the same boat. You get a piece of paper and you're like, well, how am I supposed to choose from this? So your advocates are going to help and everybody's going to help them with.
Think of us as like an extension of your HR.
Okay.
As it relates to the medical benefit side of things.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Absolutely huge. So I talked to a few people and I told them that you were coming on the show and they're like, we need to meet Jay. We need to because we need to figure out, better, plans and lower cost plans as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always evolving, which is the fun of it. Now for a layperson or a business owner, right? A business owner needs to focus on their business, what's best for their business. They can't be focused on what the flavor of the day is for health insurance or taxes or anything in that kind of, well, taxes maybe, but that's why they have you, right? That's why they have you. Uh, and so that's really the service that we're trying to provide is you focus on what's best for your business, your skill set best for your business. Let me help you with your health for yourself, for your family, for your employees. And I guess from a business perspective, you wouldn't need an HR person to manage that. You'd have us.
Right. And an HR person, if a small business even has an HR person, that's, they have other things to do rather than worrying about the health insurance and trying to explain that. And the other thing is for a business owner to have a fantastic policy. Now the employees are loving it, right? Because now they've got better coverage or it's not as expensive. And that helps with the company, keeping those employees happy because we know the cost of, people leaving.
Yep. And in today's environment, I just came from the furniture trade show. I arrived, I think it was last night. Maybe it's the night before. Hiring is very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult. So when you outline a compensation plan and the benefits that include health insurance, that's a major selling feature as opposed to someone who doesn't want to work and has a comparable compensation. Well, now you add health insurance to it, and that can be a huge recruiting feature when you're bringing on new employees.
It absolutely is, and that's just a cost that just continues to go up no matter what. That's always a bad discussion. Great, we offer health insurance, but it's going to cost you $1,000 or $2,000 a month, which is horrendous for people.
And we can also work with individuals if our goal is that everyone has health insurance, right? So if it's a needs-based, so I have various medical conditions, great. If it's budgetary, we'll at least say, okay, what's your budget? And we'll put something together so you have some coverage. But we don't want people just left uncovered.
Thank you so much. This was
absolutely
fun.
Thank you for having me, Francesca. This is wonderful.
Absolutely loved having you. So we have an extra little special guest with us today, Syed. So we're going to talk with you. Did I say that right? Say that right? Is it Syed or is it
Said?
Said. My apologies.
No problem.
All right. So I heard you have a phenomenal story. So Jay had asked if we could add one more person to talk about some insurance as well. And so I heard you have a fantastic story. So why don't you tell us?
I don't know which part of that is fantastic, but thank you so much for having me here. Very nice to meet all of you. And yeah, my background is completely different from the insurance world. I used to be a scientist, and I had 15 years of that career. When I left that, I was an assistant professor in biochemistry at Scripps Research Institute here in San Diego. And at that point in my life, I started to understand, realize that if I keep doing what I'm doing and looking at the other professors and my other colleagues that were like 10, 15 years ahead of me, and they were nowhere close to really retire, and some of them were pretty stressed when it came to monetary part, that's when I started to realize that I don't know what I'm doing. They don't know what they're doing. We're not dummies. We're pretty smart people, and we don't know what the heck we're doing. So, and that started to ignite an interest in me, and I started to read more about it. And then I had a bad encounter with a financial advisor that we lost $15,000-$20,000 for our retirement, right? Pretty much right off the bat, like within a couple of years. And that was for me that, you know what, this is serious and this is very important. So I started to be really, really interested in that, and I got into the insurance world, financial services world, and it has become a passion of me now. I love what I do. It is super important. I always say everybody dies and everybody retires or wants to retire before they die. So these are necessities. Yeah. So I have been a senior broker for almost 5 years with World Financial Group. It's a Trans-America company, and we are, on that note, we are a huge company when it comes to how many products and services and providers we have in our tool belt. So we represent a little over 100 different companies, all the big carriers, Transamerica, Nationwide, Pacific Life, Lincoln Financial, you name it, we work with them. And that allows us to properly educate people and find a solution that it's important for them, so that we address their needs rather than what we can sell.
So how important is it for people to have life insurance?
Well, it is as important for somebody to have life insurance. If somebody cares about their family, they need life insurance. It's a necessity. If they don't care about their family, they may consider not having it. And that's number one. And number two, there are so many other aspects of life insurance that majority of people do not know, have never been educated about, and do not realize. It's not just when you pass away, the money goes to somebody else. There is a plethora of how much more that there is there. And that's our job, to educate people.
So let me just ask you this question, and I'm sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot for this, but what's the cost of an average funeral today? Do you know that number?
Oh, an average cost could easily be anywhere between 15 to 30,000 for just that part. And the funeral homes, they want your money now. A lot of times somebody walks in, one of the first questions is, who's paying for this?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a complete very, very for-profit industry. And that is another part of our education to let people know that it doesn't have to cost $30,000 or $20,000, where it can cost $5,000 for pretty much the similar service and without any additional. For example, I have one of my clients. She said that when she was dealing with her dad, passed away, and he was going to be cremated, so they were offering her a casket. I think it was like $5,000 casket that he was going to be placed in and be burned with. And for her was like, so why do I need to pay $5,000 to burn wood, basically? So these are the parts that a lot of people are very, very unfamiliar with. And at that moment, our thoughts are somewhere else. We just want to get it done and over with.
Right. Because you're in a bad spot right then and there. You're grieving. You're going through this whole emotional process, and that's why I think too it's good to talk about it. Right. Part of your wealth management piece is, what is that exit? What are you planning? So not only an exit for yourself, but then also if you have a business, right? Because I know you have business people that you work with.
Yes.
So with B2B CFO, I do a whole thing and partner with wealth managers because that exit is so important. And that exit, you can't wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to sell my business today. It doesn't work that way.
Correct.
You have to plan. And it's key. It's key to make sure that you have that planning. The wealth management piece, the health insurance, life insurance, it's just so important for the planning.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your wealth management piece.
So we basically, everything we do is through insurance products, whether it's for retirement planning or just pure life insurance. And the part that I educate mostly about is that there are, when it comes to retirement, because wealth management, it has to do with, okay, how long can I have this money last for me? That's really, it's not how much money I can accumulate, it's how long this is going to last me. That's the real part. And again, that's a realization that a lot of people, when I talk to them about that, they're like, it's right. I need to have money before to last until I pass away, or a little further even so. So, and there are usually three major leaks when it comes to that part. One is the taxes, obviously. That's a huge leak. And the other one is, as Jay was talking about, and is health bills, like medical bills, basically. And as we grow older, long-term care, especially, that on average is somewhere between $5,000-6,000 a month, just on average, depending on where you live in the country. California is much more expensive, obviously. And so that is another leak that people do not plan for. And the third one is, of course, the market volatility. For somebody that is about to turn 60 and has accumulated and has been really good with the money, and then something out of control happens, and then whatever is left is, 30% of that is going to go to taxes, and now whatever is left, there are medical bills happening. That person, even if that person has accumulated, $1.5 million, $2 million, believes that, hey, I'm ready to retire, suddenly is in a very tough spot. So these are the parts that we educate people what to do about.
So tell me, how long has long-term care been around?
How long?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good question. I never looked at when it started to be there. Yeah.
So here, I'm going to tell you my age. Well, I'm not going to tell you my age. All I'm going to tell you is I'm pushing 60, right? So almost 60 years old. And long-term care is language I've just heard in the last 2 years or so. I didn't even know this was out there. And how it came up is with my mother. And somebody said, well, don't you have long-term care? I'm like, what? So again, it's people don't know that there are services and products out there. And again, so what happens is somebody says, oh, this person sells life insurance. Yeah, I don't want to talk to you, right? Because now I have to face mortality that at some point I'm not going to be around. And I think one of the other points that you didn't cover is legacy. So not only covering what you yourself want to have, but is there a plan for you for a legacy? I mean, is there something you want to leave for the grandkids or your kids or whatever the case? Maybe you don't like them. Okay, I get it. So you don't want to leave a legacy, but there are other people that do want to have that legacy piece.
100%.
Yeah.
And the reason, you're absolutely right. The reason I do talk a lot about what it can do for the person that buying it is to understand that, hey, there are, believe it or not, there are people like, you know what, I don't want to leave too much money for my kids because I want them to struggle so that they understand what life is about. Like, all right, I'm not going to discuss your parents. I'm not going to give any parental advice on that part. But so regardless, it could be a single person, like no kids, no spouse, nobody, and that person is even more need of having a protection because nobody's going to take care of that person when right. Things happen.
Exactly. So how do we get in touch with you, Said?
I'm going to put my website here. So I try to be a little bit prepared on that. So that's my website, and people can, book a call with me directly. My phone number is there, my email address is there, and then also a lot of information about, what we do, who we are as a company, and how we operate. So that is the best way to contact me.
That's awesome. And so, I mean, part of this and why I'm trying to bring people on this to talk with them is just that service part, right? So the idea is to help people, educate them on things that they may not know that are out there, because that's so important to get the information out to people so that they can make more educated, decisions with what they're doing.
Exactly.
All right. Do you guys have anything else before we sign off? And
yeah, I mean, maybe two last things real quick. Francesca, you work with a lot of business owners. There's always the theme of taxes. Said and his team are very good with help navigating those waters to preserve as much of one's capital as possible. And so that's one of the reasons. Again, I try to live by the mantra of healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I was the health, he's the wealth. Hopefully you all are wiser. But when you speak to Said, he can talk more about, working with you if you're in the process of growing a business or selling a business to help preserve your capital. And I know that's something that's near and dear to our hearts, especially as government makes regulations that kind of ebb and flow on the tax circuit. And so we try and, again, provide a service that helps you navigate those as seamlessly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there are a lot of solutions for either business owners or for themselves, or for them to offer to their key management or certain employees. So we have buy-sell agreements that we protect. We have executive bonuses. There are a lot of life insurance solutions that helps individuals as well as business owners to save a lot in taxes and get a lot of benefits and make their money work way better for themselves.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you both for being on today. I greatly appreciate it. We do have some other fun people that we're gonna kind of do some different things. So not only business, but I have some other fun people, whether it's hypnosis or which is really cool. If you haven't done hypnosis, it's awesome. And some other fun things that we're going to be doing besides the business piece. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Greatly appreciate. Thanks to my guests. Thanks for the first show. And it went off with like almost no hiccups. So that's awesome. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.